Hello and welcome to Life.EV, your weekly dive into the essence of life's value exploration, and that too right at the heart of India's economic boom. I'm your host, Ajit Panicker, sharing roles at Nova and Pureblu, where the entrepreneurial journey is a lived reality. And join us every Saturday at 11 a.m. for conversations that go beyond business growth, delving into the ethos of value creation. Let's embark on this quest together, redefining the successes in business and life. Welcome to Life.EV, Life Exploring Values. And as usual, I have Vivek Asrani with me. How are you doing, Vivek?
Very well, Ajit. Good to see you again. How are you doing?
Absolutely good. So, for our viewers who are watching us for the first time, Vivek Asrani is from Kemo Industries, which is a leading company in industrial fasteners. And he's known for his value explorations. Vivek has shared weekly insights on vivekasrani.com for 4 years. Enriching our discussions with his profound reflections is what our episodes is all about. Vivek also brings insights from his book, One Day at a Time, available on Amazon, which explores values in depth. Dive into this conversation with us on life.ev for a deeper understanding. And today's episode, we talk on true sportsmanship. Vivek, let's dive deep into this. Love to hear from you on your thoughts on what's true sportsmanship.
I think that's a lovely topic because we've all been on the playing field ever since we were children. In fact, that's our first interaction with teamwork, being on the field, playing, uh, being competitive, winning, losing, laughing, crying, having fights, making friends. And that carries on through life, as we get into whatever we're doing and then finally to our work, business, professions, careers, and everything. So, to my mind, behind every sports person is first a human being. And the kind of sports person you are is very deeply linked to and determined by the kind of human being you are. Your talent as a sports person is very different. That's a different area. But the kind of person you are, is really what, to my mind, sportsmanship is. So there are three elements of sportsmanship. One is in victory, we have to probably remind ourselves to receive it with a lot of humility, not false humility. And I'm saying humility because we need to remind ourselves that we're not the only ones who are responsible for our success. There were so many around us who contributed to what we've achieved. And there were so many circumstances that probably played in our favor. Second is we have to be graceful in defeat. Things are not always going to go our way, but to accept it with the grace to say, well, somebody was better than me on this particular day and yeah, did a better job, and well, tomorrow's another day. And the third is that in every game, and I'm using the word game in a larger context, in every game there is an opportunity to build relationships. And at the end of it, at least is the way I look at it, when you look back, what we're really collecting, which is going to determine our wealth, is our relationships and experiences. So playing the game, with that attitude, that with humility, with grace, and winning friends and relationships. The other thing, Ajit, is that you can either view life as a win-win or a win-lose. So if you're highly competitive, then it's always a win-lose paradigm that I have to win at any cost. Of course, we play to win. I mean, there is no question about it. Otherwise, the mind is not going to, help deliver the best. But there is an opportunity for it to be a win-win even in a loss. Now, let me speak a little to that. I may lose a game, but I may gain a friend in the bargain. I may gain insights into my own strengths and weaknesses. I may gain certain learnings from my opponent, whether it be on the field or in the business space. Uh, Very touching was when Roger Federer publicly congratulated Nadal on his 20th Grand Slam win. And what was really nice was he called him his greatest rival, and in the same breath paid him great respect by calling him, his friend. And to me, that really epitomizes what true sportsmanship is.
Amazing. But tell me something, Vivek, in entrepreneur, when you run businesses, it's very natural. You tend to see, and especially talking about smaller businesses, not large corporates, smaller businesses. You always want the next order. You want to compete hard. You see everybody as a rival. Is that fair? I mean, is that in true sportsmanship that you even see? And in the process, what happens is you speak ill about your competitors, or sometimes you just clamp up. And so, what's true sportsmanship when it comes to like being in business?
Yeah, that's true. We see a lot of things happening in the world, and then sometimes we tend to get a little I don't know, cynical, or we lose faith in the power of goodness. I think one thing we need to keep reminding ourselves is that an opponent or a competitor is not an enemy. And the way I define it for our business, Ajit, is that our competitors are friends in the same space. Now, when we look at it that way, yes, of course, in the marketplace, we're both competing for the same customer, but very often we collaborate with each other. And to your point of speaking ill of somebody else in the same space, I was very touched when I read a tribute written by Rajiv Bajaj of Bajaj Auto for Brijmohan Lal Munjal, who was the founder of then Hero Honda, now Hero Motor Corp. And I'm just going to read because I've written about this in my book, in my reflection. And he says that he was his fiercest rival in the marketplace, and yet he called him his guru, for whom he had the highest regard and respect. Now we know that Hero and Bajaj have been, very fierce in fighting with each other for market share. But it also reminds, and something as small as this reminds us of another thing, that even in the midst of our fiercest battles, as I would call them, in the marketplace, if you're in business, or on the field, if you're playing a game, we don't have to lose the human touch and goodness. Greatness doesn't have to mean that we compromise on our goodness and some of the relationships that we can build. So yeah, I mean, there are people who will play dirty. There are people who will do whatever it takes to win, who will win at any cost. But then, like I said earlier, I mean, there is a human being behind the sports person, and you have to decide what kind of a human being you are, and that will then determine what kind of a sports person you will be. I mean, I'm sure, Ajit, you've probably also had experiences of somebody not speaking well of you, or these kind of situations. Yeah.
No, I've had a very interesting experience, and I love to share this. I remember, in our field, sometimes customers call all the competitors together. They say, that, okay, I'm going to finalize. I'm going to sit together. And they like to sit down and say, okay, I'm giving you an offer. Why don't you just rework and come back inside? And you have all the competitors sitting outside. So I remember a
Hmm.
similar case where I ended up in front of a customer, and there was one of my competitors sitting outside. And we were just sitting and chatting up, and he was just talking about it. And I asked him, how's business? And he said, it's okay. I'm struggling here. And for no reason, but he just said it, because we had met before, and he just said that. And we just chatted up and everything. And we never spoke about this project or this inquiry or anything. And I walk inside when I was called. I walk inside, and my turn was actually after his. So he went, he spoke to the clients, then he came out, and then I went inside. We had a discussion on the project, everything, and then the client says that, hey, listen, Ajit, I have a question for you. You know, the guy sitting outside, he's come through a great reference. You also come through a good reference. I'm now confused. Who should I place the order on? Because both of you guys are not much difference on the pricing, on the solutions, and everything almost seems similar. So who should I place the order on? And he was trying to joke with me, as to who should I place the order on me. And as usual, he had a right to negotiate, and I had said this is the best. So I just told him, you know what? I think he's a good guy, and probably he should get this order, and why don't you try him out? Okay, so I can always take the next one, but why don't you try him out? He said, are you sure? He was kind of shocked. He said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, why don't you just give him a try? Yeah? It'll be good. Now, he said, okay. And I left. And at that time, I'm cursing myself. I said, what the hell, man? I went to get business and I gave it to my competitor and I walked away. And actually, that's happened. He gave the order to him, he went away. And then out of the blue, after a week or 10 days, I get a call from this guy who was a competitor who was sitting there. And he said, listen, the client just told me that, you told me that I should get that this job should go to him. And and I was surprised why you did that. So I said, I don't know why I did it here. I just felt it nice that we were chatting up and it just felt good to do it. And I did it. Now, here's the big takeaway. I lost the customer. I lost that order. But now it's almost 15 years and we are such good friends. And I'll tell you my takeaways in the last 15 years. He's a direct competitor. He shares everything about his business with me. He just trusts me. And I have somebody who's in a similar field to bounce things out with him. These are
Mm,
the kind of challenges that I have. These are the kind of vendors I'm looking for. I'm not getting a good guy. He says, hey, listen, I've got a great vendor. Why don't you try him out? I mean, when
mm,
I actually multiply that, what is the value of order that I lost and what I actually have gained over the last 12 years, you just can't compare the two. And it's been a great learning phase. Sometimes just being a nice sport can have a long term impact, even if it's a short term negative. And I think I always cherish that moment pretty well. And this true sportsmanship is probably just about that, because I know today even he goes out and he will also say, listen, he's a better guy from me. Today we have landed up in so many places. Both of us say we are better than each other, and then you confuse the client as to, okay, now you decide who do you want to work with. So I think that has been a very interesting phase for me.
yeah. No, I know, Ajit, what you said, that when you badmouth somebody, you think you're scoring a point over the other person, but actually the person who's hearing you is not stupid, right? So they're also forming an image and saying that, okay, this guy is coming with bad mouthing his competition. He's trying to influence my mind with negativity. Is this the kind of business partner I want, either as a customer or a supplier or whatever the relationship is? And I think I probably shared this in one of the earlier podcasts which we did, where at an exhibition, I said I was so excited that we're definitely going to get the order, and I was overexcited about this order. It was an order for one tool. So I called him the next day. I said, Naveen, what's the story behind this? Why are you so excited? And he said exactly the same thing. He said, the customer went to all the other stalls and they were telling him why he shouldn't buy from us. And when he came to us, Naveen just told him, he said, look, this is our value proposition, which is why I think you should buy from us. And when he asked him, what about the other competitors? He said, well, they're also good, which is why they are in the market. But I'm here to tell you why I think we can do a better job. And that's why we got the order, because of our culture, you know,
That's right.
um, and the goodness. In fact, let me share another very interesting experience we had during COVID. Our competitor called me. He said, look, supply chain has broken down and we don't have raw material. Can you loan us raw material? And he said, listen, it's very embarrassing for me to ask you. I said, look, this is not the time for you and me to think as competitors. And we actually, Ajit, shipped out raw material to our competitor to keep their factory running. I said, this is the time for us to collaborate, to take care of our workers, take care of our customers, and in our small way, take care of the country. I think I shared this as well. But I think sportsmanship is really an attitude. Uh, Winning or losing is the outcome of your talent, your hard work, your discipline, your focus, how well you played. So, winning and losing is the outcome, but sportsmanship is the attitude with which you approach not only the game, but with which you approach life. And I'd like to read out a few lines, Ajit, from the reflection I wrote on true sportsmanship, which is
Sure.
that it is our highest duty to give our best. At the end of the day, when the game is over, we realize that life is beyond winning and losing. We are always reminded, and we need to remind ourselves, that human values of love and respect should never be compromised, even at the highest level of the game. and I spoke about uh, Rajiv Bajaj and his tribute to Mr. Munjal, and I spoke about Roger Federer and Nadal in this context. Goodness should not be sacrificed at the altar of trying to achieve greatness. And it is our behavior off the field that shows our real sportsmanship. You know, so
Amazing.
that's how it is.
Yeah, and I strongly believe, as entrepreneurs, we have to understand the power of collaboration, even if it's within our competitors. And the power of collaboration, in a way, is deep rooted in the whole idea of true sportsmanship.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and in times of difficult times, you'll be surprised how your biggest competitor can actually stand up for you or help you out, and it's a good feeling. It's a great value to create in life, and you just realize in the long run you recover 10 times from what you probably would have lost in the short term.
No, no, absolutely. And everything cannot always be equated in terms of money. And that's a big mistake. A lot of people make that the paradigm is the number. Of course, and I keep repeating this, that it's very important to have that goal, important to have the number, but we need to probably start counting our wealth beyond just the bank balance, but also the relationship balances that we have in life.
Awesome. So that was a fantastic discussion today we had on true sportsmanship. So share this episode with your friends, colleagues, and family, and ask them what you think. Start a conversation and see where it leads. So that brings us to the end of our episodes, full of insights on balancing values and business growth. We're eager to hear from you. Engage with us on the social media, share your questions and what you've learned. Your input is crucial in fostering an ethically driven business community. And that's all what we have for today. Join us next week on Life.EV for more on exploring value. And as usual, thank you, Vivek, for today's insights. And tune in
Thanks for
next.
having me, Ajit.
Always a pleasure, man. And tune in next week for deeper discussions that guide our ethical compass. Thank you for listening and keep the conversation on values going with your friends. Thank you very much and see you next week. Thanks, Vivek. Bye bye.
Bye, Ajit.